Imagine discovering your entire life was a lie, shattered in an instant. Welcome everyone to a truly profound narrative. This is the account of a man who uncovered his spouse's betrayal. Get comfortable, let's unravel this together. I'm utterly bewildered, completely uncertain what to do. The clues were there, but I failed to see them. Love's spell had me oblivious, never anticipating such an event in my life, especially not with her, my partner, and closest confidant for almost 20 years. My work often takes me away, and I wasn't scheduled home until tonight. We had planned a 2-week road trip starting tomorrow. Work slowed unexpectedly, so I returned yesterday afternoon. This journey was meant for us, a chance for intimacies after a summer packed with family and friends. Arriving home, I spotted an unfamiliar pickup in the driveway. Just recently, my neighbor asked about my new truck, but I dismissed it as a mistake, not giving it much thought. The moment I clearly saw the vehicle, a dreadful intuition struck me. I adored my wife, trusting her absolutely, yet that feeling persisted intensely. I crept around the house to our bedroom window. It was slightly ajar, and as I neared, I heard voices. Peeking inside, my deepest fear materialized. They were there, fully exposed, upon my own bed. I retreated. I've been battling an impulse to act in ways I know I'd regret. At this point, I struggle to care what becomes of me. I went to my family's remote cabin for the night and consumed all the alcohol available. Today, I was heading home to confront her, but decided against it. I'm not ready. All I feel is rage. All I envision is violence. I'm not mentally stable right now, not fit to face her. I'm back at the cabin now with a large bottle of rum, staring at it for an hour. I wish to get intoxicated and erase this memory, but I don't want to make poor choices while drunk. I understand this is a pivotal juncture in my existence, and my decisions in the coming days will shape my entire future. That's why I'm reaching out. I need assistance. I'm not prepared to speak with relatives or friends, so I'm sharing this with strangers on the internet. Update 1. The outpouring of encouragement and guidance I've received is astonishing. I actually became emotional realizing how many wonderful individuals are out there prepared to aid a stranger. It offers a glimmer of hope for humanity, precisely when I needed it most. The one drawback to all this support is my difficulty in replying to everyone. I have over 600 unread private messages and hundreds of unread comments. I want to thank each person individually, and I intend to make an effort to do so, but it will take time. So I'll begin by extending a huge thank you to all for your kind words and helpful suggestions. It genuinely means a great deal. I've noticed several recurring comments and inquiries and wish to clarify them in addition to my small update. If it isn't obvious, I feel significantly better today. The sharp pain has almost entirely receded. I still feel a lingering ache in my gut, but otherwise I've started looking toward what's next. It's only been 2 days, so this reaction feels unusual to me. Is this the calm before a storm, or am I simply remarkably resilient? Regarding the questions and comments, here are some brief points to clarify things. When I mentioned wife and best friend, I was referring to the dual roles my partner played in my life. The other man was not my closest friend, nor even an acquaintance. I didn't get a clear view of him, but from the quick glimpse in his vehicle, I don't believe he's someone I know. We don't have children, though we were planning to start a family soon. We recently sold our house and were scheduled to relocate closer to my workplace in September when the new owners take possession. I plan to thank my neighbor, doing so subtly, just as he subtly helped me. Many have asked about the signs I mentioned overlooking. Off the top of my head, here are a few. She was texting unusually late at night. She regularly went for after-work drinks with friends. This was uncharacteristic for her, but I was pleased she was socializing. She supposedly had yoga once a week, but apparently wasn't paying, as a coworker was the instructor, and she was assisting with setup and cleanup. I also thought she seemed very inflexible for someone attending yoga. Unknown caller hangups. We often answer each other's phones if one is closer. Several times, she received calls from an unknown number that would disconnect as soon as I answered. We get many spam calls, but usually it's a telemarketer or debt collector seeking the previous number holder. Hangups are rare. This update is still developing. When my brother arrived, we had a profound, lengthy discussion. He has always been my true best friend, and I realized I must never forget that. knowing he'll always be there for me without judgment, just as I would be for him. He truly embodies the ideal of genuine friendship, even if we occasionally argue. Since I was expected home last night, I decided to reply to my wife's text. We aren't permitted phones on site, so it was logical for me to only text her. She knows it's easy for me to sneak in messages. I wrote back saying I needed to visit one of my company's remote locations and wouldn't be able to call until the end of the weekend. I told her I would cancel all our reservations and rebook them later. She suggested she could bring her best friend with her this weekend to the romantic bed and breakfast on a vineyard I'd booked. I knew it wasn't the best friend she actually intended to bring. I informed her I'd already given it to my brother and his wife since it was non-refundable, and they would reimburse me in a month. This morning I canceled all reservations except the romantic one. My brother was joining me. Fortunately, the hotel allowed us to swap the honeymoon suite for a room with 2 beds. There also happens to be a lovely lake and boat rentals nearby, so this transformed into a long overdue fishing trip with my brother. This meant I was free for the weekend. I didn't have to message or speak to her for a few days, which relieved some tension and gave me more time to reflect. I'm currently leaning towards divorce. Honestly, I see no other path. My brother supports this, but has asked me to take a couple of weeks and speak with a professional. His wife has a friend who is a couples counselor and is willing to speak with me on Monday. I don't believe it will alter my decision, but perhaps it will help me sort through this confusion. I'm also following much of the advice here and consulting with attorneys, at least to prepare for what I consider inevitable. I want to handle this correctly. I never thought she would try to exploit me, but then again, I never expected her to betray me, so I believe I must be ready for anything. Thanks again, everyone. Thanks again. I'll try to enjoy my weekend as much as possible. Update 2. A lot has transpired in the last few days. I'll begin with the less significant details. My brother Matt and I drove nearly 5 hours to the bed and breakfast at the vineyard. I truly value his presence through all this. It was more of a therapeutic venting session than anything, but it genuinely helped clear my mind. After spending most of the drive complaining to him, I just wanted some solitude while he desired to go out for dinner. I remained in the room and he went out to eat, bringing me back some food. He also managed to arrange a boat rental for the next day. On Saturday, we launched onto the water. The B&B owner, aware of our fishing plans, was kind enough to pack us a small cooler with provisions. It was their way of making the romantic package more suitable for 2 brothers. It was a thoughtful gesture. The fishing wasn't great. We both caught a couple of trout that needed to be released due to their size, so the snacks from the B&B proved very useful. We stopped fishing in the mid-afternoon, then drove around to various vineyards and fruit stands, buying food and cases of wine for Matt's wife, Jen. That evening, we sought out the largest tomahawk steak we could find. On Sunday, we drove back to Matt's place. He lives in the next town over from me, about an hour away from my home. When we arrived, Jen was there, and we all sat, opening a chilled bottle of white wine we had in the cooler. This marked the official end of the weekend for me. Jen then told me that while we were away, she decided to observe my wife. She said the man was at my house all Friday night, but on Saturday morning, Jen managed to arrive just as he was leaving. She followed him home and located his apartment. My wife stayed there Saturday night, at the very time she was sending me messages saying she loved and missed me. Jen explained she was dividing her time between visiting family in my town and monitoring my wife. She mentioned she happened to catch my wife leaving his apartment Sunday morning and took a few pictures of them embracing and kissing before my wife got into her car. I don't want to view those images. That effectively finalized things for me. I don't believe I could ever trust her again if she can switch her emotions so easily, declaring her love for me while being with another man. Still, I resolved not to react impulsively based on feelings. I needed to remain composed and rational. That's when Jen informed me that Sharon was coming for dinner. Sharon is the counselor Jen had scheduled an appointment for me to see. To clarify, Sharon had never met my wife, and this was my first encounter with her too. Sharon was a very pleasant individual, and we connected well. After dinner, Sharon and I took a stroll around Matt's neighborhood to walk the dogs and have a private conversation. Sharon was incredibly helpful as a fantastic listener and made me feel I didn't need to hold back. It was therapeutic to openly express my emotions. As comfortable as I am with my brother, this was distinct and deeply necessary. It's the same reason I find writing this on Reddit beneficial. It's a cathartic outlet that helps me unravel the complexities in my mind. Our walk lasted an hour, and Sharon's only significant advice was not to postpone the discussion with my wife. She stated that the longer I waited, the more difficult it would become to address the situation with her. She emphasized that I needed clarity more than anything at this point, and my wife was the only one who could provide it. Later that night, Jen and Matt offered for me to stay with them for as long as needed. I know Matt and I have a limit for being in close quarters, so I spoke to my boss, who arranged for me to stay in company housing. I've been staying there every other week for a while, but usually have to leave on days off. He managed to make it possible for me to stay full-time for a few months, if required. I decided to reschedule with Sharon for later this week. I felt our walk sufficed for the initial session. She agreed. I spent Sunday night just lying in bed, contemplating how to approach this. I struggled because even imagining the scenario in my head made me angry or sad. I decided I would just improvise. I'm usually capable under pressure. Yesterday, I woke up and bid farewell to Matt and Jen. I drove towards home, wondering if he might be there when I arrived. Then I thought that would likely just ignite the same fury I felt a few days prior. I opted to do a quick drive-by first. Neither his truck nor my wife's car was present. I went inside and gathered some essential items and things I couldn't bear to part with, mainly photographs and old family keepsakes. I packed them all into my truck and then drove to the other man's apartment. Her car wasn't there either, but his truck was. I decided to message her to find out where she was. She replied she was getting groceries. I trust her so little now that I drove by the grocery store and actually confirmed she was there. I feel ashamed admitting I did that, but my trust is shattered, and it's the only way I can be certain of anything. I messaged her again, telling her to just come home because we needed to talk. She replied, "What's wrong?" I simply responded that she needed to be prepared to be honest, then turned my phone off. She arrived home 15 minutes later. When she entered, she approached to hug and kiss me, as she always does. I turned away from her. She again asked what was amiss, so I told her she needed to start being truthful with me. She feigned ignorance, claiming she had no idea what I was referring to. I said, "Fine. If you can't be honest, then I am leaving." She began to panic at this point and asked, "Are you talking about yoga?" I figured that was a start. I inquired what she meant, and she admitted she hadn't been attending yoga. Here's a summary of the rest of the conversation. "If you weren't going to yoga, then where were you going?" "I was taking walks to relax because I've been so stressed lately." "Why are you so stressed, and why did you deceive me about your activities?" "Preparing for the move has been overwhelming me, and I just didn't know how to tell you." "So, lying was your chosen solution? What was your concern with telling me you were going for a walk to de-stress?" "I didn't intend to lie. I worried that my stress would contribute to yours." "But I'm not stressed. It truly seems like you're not disclosing everything." "What do you mean?" "I believe you're concealing more than just skipping yoga. I'm asking you again to be truthful. You've already lied to me, so this cannot work if you continue to lie." I don't know what else to say. "Oh, are you referring to last weekend when I went for drinks with some friends and returned home late? I had a feeling that bothered you." I had no clue she went for drinks or was out late. I was at work several hours away. "Is that what you actually did that night, or was that also a fabrication?" "I did go for drinks that night, but I didn't see her best friend, who she supposedly was with that evening." "Who did you see?" "No one, I just drank alone." "You drink alone now?" "Yeah, maybe I have a problem." "Perhaps we'll discuss that later." Last chance. Be honest or I'm leaving. I don't know what else to say." "Okay, I'm leaving." At this point, I stood up and departed. Usually when we argue, I go for a drive to get some space from her. She probably assumed this was the same. Then she realized I took my clothes and toiletries as well as the Xbox. That's when she started bombarding my phone. I told her I gave her an opportunity to be truthful, and she didn't, so there was nothing left to discuss. She pleaded and begged me to come home to talk about it in person. She claimed she had no idea why I was so upset or what I thought she had done. She reiterated that she loved me and would never harm me. Just hearing her utter those words felt like a fresh wound in my chest. They were always reassuring words I accepted without question. Now it's a blunt, jagged blade tearing through my heart in the most agonizing way. I couldn't bear it, so I hung up. She called back approximately 40 times before I was prepared to answer again. This time she asked, "Did you speak to Karen, her best friend?" I asked why, and she said, "Come home. I don't want to say this over the phone." I agreed and drove around a bit longer to calm my racing heart. Then I went home. That conversation proceeded as follows. "I assume you spoke to Karen." I remained silent. "Well, a few weeks ago, while you were at work, we went for drinks. A couple of guys started buying us beverages, so we just went along with it. When we were leaving, one of the guys tried to kiss me. I immediately pulled away and told him I was married. I felt terrible about it. I wanted to tell you, but I'm an idiot and just decided to conceal it from you." Karen connected with the other guy and gave his friend my number without asking me. He has texted me a few times since, but I have never replied. "Can I see your phone?" "Yes." She showed me her phone, which was entirely devoid of texts, except for mine and her mother's. She never deletes her messages, so this was new. I looked at her photos, which were also clean, but then I checked the recently deleted photos and discovered one of a man I didn't recognize. "Who's this?" "That's the guy who tried to kiss me." "Why did you take a picture of him?" "I was just being foolish." "That's not an explanation. Why did you take a picture of him?" "I don't know. Is that everything you wish to tell me, or is there more?" "That's all I can recall." Once again I left. I didn't want to endure that trickle truth tactic. I got into my truck and drove away. She rushed outside trying to halt me, but I was already out of reach. I went to a nearby park and simply sat on my tailgate, eating my lunch, trying to determine my next move. While there, I began recalling other instances I should have been more vigilant about. Things like, I was working a weekend shift, and she went to bed early. My wife went out to a club with some girlfriends. I woke up at 4 a.m., and she still wasn't home. I called her several times, but there was no answer. About 30 minutes later, she called me back and asked if I would come pick her up. When I collected her, she claimed they were trying to hail a taxi but had no success. A couple of guys her friend knew stopped and offered them a ride but wanted to go home first. When they reached this man's house, her married friend went into a room with one of the guys. My wife said she spent some time searching for her but eventually gave up and just had a drink in the kitchen with the roommates while she waited. She asserted she didn't hear her phone when I tried calling. We argued about this, and she expressed disgust at her friend's behavior. So she cut that friend out of her life. I thought that was the end of it. Another time, she traveled to visit a close friend in a different city. It was a planned girls' night, 4 women getting drunk and watching movies in their pajamas, or so I was told. Then she called me around 1 a.m. to say goodnight. We spoke for about 20 minutes, and she repeatedly told me they were having a fantastic girls' night. Then I heard a man's voice in the background. I asked who it was, and she initially denied hearing anything. Then it happened again, loudly. She couldn't deny it, so she said, "Oh yeah, friend's name, brought a couple of guys with her. Everyone here is super annoyed about it." She was inebriated and 3 hours away. She left me no alternative but to trust her. Again, we argued about that and why she refused to tell me they were there. She promised never to put herself in such a situation again. Clearly, that promise didn't last. After recalling all those incidents and the discussions we'd had about them, I was prepared to give this one final attempt. I reactivated my phone, and almost instantly it rang. I answered, and she was screaming for me to return home. I drove back to the house. I walked inside and was immediately met by her, crying hysterically. She was sitting on the couch repeating, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I asked her, "Sorry for what?" She began rocking back and forth like a distressed person. It took her a good 5 minutes to compose herself enough to speak. I lied about the guy who tried to kiss me. "Okay, tell me what occurred." "The 4 of us actually went back to his place that night. We fooled around." I knew it was more than that, but just hearing her admit it made me feel disoriented. I felt like the room was shrinking, and a million voices were clamoring in my ears simultaneously. I think I was having a panic attack. I went to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face until things stabilized. "What did you do?" Do you really want me to tell you? Yes. All right, we'll omit the explicit details, but it was bad. Was that everything? Yes. I'm not playing this game any longer. You either tell me absolutely everything right now or this will be the last time we ever speak. She started crying again and took another few minutes before she could talk. We met up again and had sex. I'm so sorry. I love you and I will do anything to compensate for this. Just the one time. If I tell you the absolute truth, please give me a chance to do whatever I can to make amends. Please. I'll consider it. It was an offer. We had been meeting while you were out of town for work. It's been happening for almost a month now. He is married and they are about to get divorced. Does he know you're married? Yes. If he's having an affair because his marriage is failing, does that mean you think ours is failing? Is that what you told him? No, I don't think ours is failing. I'm so foolish. I despise myself. Please don't abandon me. I can fix this. How? Whatever you desire. If you were in my position, or even his wife's position, what would resolve this for you? Knowing the truth? Being able to trust that you mean what you say. You can trust me. I messed up and won't do that again. If you were his wife, wouldn't you want to know the truth? Yes. Then fix this. You want me to call her? If you believe that is what you would want. She attempted to call, but never got an answer. A few minutes later, her cell phone rang. It was labeled Karen Work. She looked startled, so I knew that wasn't Karen. I asked if it was him. She confirmed it was. I answered, and being the coward he is, he said, "Oops, I must have the wrong number." I said, "No, this is the husband of the woman you've been cheating with. I'm going to let you speak to her because she has something important to say to you." I passed the phone to her. I told him everything. He knows the entire truth. We're done. It was just a brief encounter, and now you must never contact me again. I asked to see the phone before she hung up. What divorce lawyer are you using? I'm not getting divorced. Oh, but didn't you tell your wife you were? No. Okay, then can I speak to your wife? I feel she has as much right to know about this as I do. Please, man, I didn't know she was married. Don't ruin my marriage over a mistake. You ruined mine over a mistake. It's only fair that I inform your wife. Please don't. She's at work right now. I'll tell her everything when she gets home. I rare. Okay, you do that. That's where I ended the call. I asked my wife if she knew where his wife worked and her name. She did. I had my wife call over and ask for her at work. She did get her on the phone and I told her to take a seat. This woman said she was just getting ready to leave for the day and would call my wife back from her car. She did. His wife. What's happening? My wife. I have something terrible to tell you and I don't want to cause any accidents. Please don't drive. His wife. Oh my God, did something happen to his name? My wife. No, he's at your apartment right now. I'm just letting you know that we have been having an affair for a month now. I'm coming clean to my husband right now and thought you should be given the same respect. She went silent for about a minute, then said, "If this is some cruel joke, I will find out who you are." Then she hung up. Not even 10 minutes later, my wife received a text from Karen Work saying, "Thanks, you just ruined my life." I took the phone and wrote back, "You just ruined 4 lives and 2 marriages. Don't forget that this was your fault, you despicable person." For the next hour, my wife pleaded and begged me to stay with her. She suggested counseling. She offered to never leave my side. She even offered me physical intimacy. This was exactly what I anticipated, thanks to the comments here. She then proposed we go on that vacation. Her treat. We need time away was her justification. We need to spend some quality time together because my work schedule has been creating distance between us lately. Also precisely what I expected her to say. She wasn't expecting me to tell her that I went anyway. She also wasn't expecting me to tell her that I already have therapy scheduled for myself. She definitely wasn't expecting me to tell her that I caught her in my own bed. I could only imagine she didn't expect me to have alternative lodging already arranged. When I revealed all of that, she collapsed to the floor, sobbing. She started saying she didn't deserve to live. She told me I should just end her life right now because she's too awful to be with anyone. It continued like that for a while. I remained for a total of 4 hours, listening to her offer excuses, then try to embrace me or comfort me, or even offer sexual favors if I would just stay and work through this with her. In the end, I called Karen and informed her that her unfaithful friend was experiencing suicidal thoughts and that she should go to keep an eye on her. Then I departed. It's been almost a full day since that occurred, and I haven't spoken to her since. She's been calling and texting me incessantly all day. Her friends and family have also been contacting me all day. Everyone has a different justification or a different appeal for sympathy. Her father was the only one who messaged me and told me that I needed to do what was best for me and that he would always love me like a son, regardless of what transpired. Reading that was what finally allowed me to have a good cry for the first time since all this started. I meet with Sharon, my counselor, tomorrow, and a lawyer on Thursday. I think you understand where this is heading, but until it actually happens, I'm just not certain about anything. Final update. This past week was highly eventful. I've been moving between company camp and my brother's residence. I'm striving to be as little inconvenience to them as possible, so I only stay on nights when I have an early appointment. My company has granted me a few weeks of personal leave, which has been an incredible help. I have continued seeing Sharon, the therapist. I've met with her a total of 3 times now. Personally, I am in a better mental state than I was last week. So while I don't truly think our sessions are profoundly productive, I believe it's a valuable opportunity to organize my thoughts. For that reason, I will continue attending for now. I consulted with a lawyer last Thursday. Following their guidance, I compiled a list of all assets and liabilities, including debts. I then visited the bank and requested a hold on our joint accounts that prevents anyone from withdrawing money without the other person present. We both have our salaries deposited into our individual accounts, so this won't hinder either of us from accessing new funds, only the existing and shared money. The lawyer did advise against confronting her until I served her the divorce papers, but it's already too late for that. Throughout the week, I was receiving calls and texts almost constantly from my wife, her family, and her friends. This past weekend, my sister-in-law organized a family gathering at the cabin. I attended and had to disclose the devastating news to my family. At least it's now out in the open, and I can include them in my healing journey. Things were proceeding as well as could be expected until Saturday night. Around 8 p.m., I was sitting by the fire with my brother and dad when my wife's car pulled up. My brother Matt told me he would handle it. My dad and I decided to take a walk around the property, out of sight from the driveway. We were barely into the woods when I could hear my wife screaming at my brother to move. She had a couple of friends with her, and they were also shouting at Matt, telling him to mind his own business. He made a courageous attempt, but ultimately they were too much for him to manage. She got past him and rushed directly toward us. She must have seen him look in our direction. My dad offered to deal with her, but I said I would. My wife, let's call her Kate for simplicity, came running over to me, weeping. She immediately reached for a hug, and I didn't stop her, but I didn't embrace her back. She implored me to just speak with her. I agreed, and we walked along the property trails to find some privacy. Kate informed me that the other man's wife has left him. She told me he called, threatening to end his life, and blamed it all on her. She claims she told him to just do it and hasn't spoken to him since. Kate then produced a piece of paper and began listing ways she promised to make amends to me. Again, these were all things she offered on the very first day. Everything from couples therapy to sexual requests. Then she caught me off guard. She said she no longer wanted to live this way. She expressed a desire for us both to quit our jobs and move abroad, to open that small beach bar we'd always dreamed about. She said she would leave right now if I would go with her. To put this into perspective, this past week, while trying to envision my life after divorce, this was the only thing I could think of, a complete reset of everything. I'm already enduring the effort of a massive change. I might as well add another element and simply do exactly what I desire. Hearing her want the identical thing just pulled me back into that feeling of missing her and wishing to be with her. That was the moment I knew I had to end the conversation. I walked her back to her car where her friends were waiting. I told her I would be willing to speak on the phone but couldn't promise anything beyond that. It calmed her enough to depart. We've spoken on the phone each night since, but it's always the same. She cries and begs me for another chance. I get angry at her actions and hang up. I'm currently struggling with missing her terribly. She was my closest friend for decades, so losing that person to confide in is incredibly difficult. Realizing that all the aspirations and plans we shared are simply discarded, it's devastating. I want nothing more than to pack everything up and begin life anew somewhere else. I want that to be with her, but she destroyed it. She robbed me of that future.